Greetings. We are starting our program. I usually start by saying greetings, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends and family, brothers and sisters, esteemed coaches and our guests. Welcome to ETE Talks Thursday night here at ICMF. I hope and believe that we are going to enjoy, and we are going to discover something new today. I am Master Coach Talent NC. I am happy to be here and to welcome you. Can you clap hands for yourself, please? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are going to have two speakers this evening. Our first speaker will be Tinashe Someka. He is the 2020 ICMF First Runner-Up Youth Relationship Coach of the Year, author of the best-selling books, You Can Inspire a Man to Marry You and Dating for Marriage. He is the founder of Relationship Haven Inc., an organization envisioning a future where love is cherished, nurtured, and celebrated, fostering blissful, lasting, and healthy relationships and marriages that inspire love in families worldwide. In short, this is a loving man. If you are a lady, you want to be loved, go to him. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as we welcome the coach, Tinashe Someka. Okay.
Have you ever been in love? Did you get married to your first lover? What could be the reason? How many times have you fallen in love? There are things that I wish I had known before falling in love. I wish I knew that falling in love is never a guarantee for marriage. Because my first lover, I didn't marry her. So what are the things you wish you had known before falling in love? Talk to me. By the time I finish, you have more answers. We were never told that love will not keep a relationship forever. Love, of course, can bring you together, but it can never keep you together forever. So holding on to love, thinking that everything else will fall into place, it will lead you to disappointments. That's why I wish I had known it before falling in love. I could have saved my heart from being wounded. I could have saved my career from being diverted. What have you lost? Because you didn't know what you're about to know when you were falling in love. I was listening to Dr. Miles Monroe, and he was saying that he did a counseling sessions with most married couples that were coming for divorce. He discovered that majority of them, they were still in love, yet they wanted to divorce. And he had to ask them, so why do you want to divorce? One of them said, I still love you, but you know what? I just don't like his character. Love can be there, but it is not enough. When I was searching for a wife, I thought looking at a woman, I would have found the one. I didn't know that it's not every woman who is a wife. Yet every wife is a woman. Say, what then do you look for when you are searching for a wife? Most got married to women. And during the process of enjoying marriage, they discovered the wifehood aspect is not there. If a man approach you, do you see a husband in that man? I did a research when I was conducting some sessions asking the married to tell me the things that they discovered in marriage that they thought were important during courtship. Some of them say that I thought that focusing on his structure, the muscles, was important. But when I got married, it was no longer an issue. These are the things most people wish they knew even before committing into marriage. You could have married the right person had you known. So good for you if you're not yet married, because you're getting to know so that you can be saved. I remember a story from the Bible. This young man had grown up, but his father noticed that he is not married. And he called one of the eldest servants and gave him a task to go look for a wife for the young man. The father knew that if I let him go alone, he wish he had known some things before falling in love. So he had to send the mature one to go before him. Gathered some camels, 10 of them. They went on a journey in search for a wife. Did you know that a visionary requires things that represent his vision to also accompany him in search of a wife? A woman was tested at the well. How she would respond, just observing the camels, 10 of them actually. And these were the most expensive mode of transport back then, only owned by the wealthy. This suits well the Porsche cars that we have during our time. $1 million car. But you went with them he made them to kneel down outside the city. Why kneeling them down? That's humility. Most guys who wish they did not show off their cars, their monies. Because the car will marry a wife for you. So, the woman looked at their cars, the camels, and saw that if this guy is thirsty, they should be thirsty. So their focus was to save the camels. I wish I knew this. I could have made it right. How many of you now wish that you can do right from this moment onwards? Can I see by the raising of your hand? That's transformation of the mind. Thank you.
On yourself.
Yes.
Choose well before you get frustrated. Thank you very much. At this moment in time,
Okay. Greetings, everyone. How are you doing today? Some are smiling, some are not smiling. We will start when everyone smiles. That's awesome. How are you doing? Okay, that's fine. When will this start to open? Just checking. So that I don't block this one and it is make us slant a little bit. Yes, that's fine. Okay, cool. How about the, okay. Thank you once again, Coach, for the warm introduction, and welcome everyone for coming this afternoon or early evening. I believe that we are going to have a wonderful time together in this place. So without wasting much time, because we don't have much of it, as you have heard, I am going to be talking about effective mind management techniques. How many are ready to learn about mind management techniques? I believe that we are indeed going to have a beautiful time. Next, coach. Right, so that's me. I think he read out my profile. So I'm a mental health and wellness coach. I also do mental fitness training. Anyone who knows what mental fitness training is about, we know about the muscles, right? Okay, so I do the muscles of the brain. Then I do mindset development. I'm a public speaker. I'm an author, master of ceremonies. I'm a musician. I'm a preacher at my local church, and I'm also the current emotional intelligence coach of the year with ICMF. So going through the outline of our presentation, all right, we are just going to look at pretty much the following. We look at the mind because we are looking at the effective mind management techniques, and it doesn't make sense to just start talking about techniques without talking about or without understanding what the mind is in the first place. So we'll look at the definitions of the mind, how the mind works, and then we go on to look at the effective management techniques. All right, so what is the mind? Is there any one of us who might want to try to define what the mind is, or who wants us to have their own understanding of what the mind is? We all know the mind, right? But how do we put it in a definition, in an English definition? Anyone who would like to try? What is the mind? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. For me, I think mind is thoughts.
Right.
And how you process those thoughts.
Okay. Thoughts and how you process the thoughts. I think he peeped into my notes, this one. Anyone else who may want to try? What is your understanding of the mind? Okay, that's fine. Yes, my baby.
I think it is what you think.
What you think.
What you perceive and the dawn or
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. All of it. So I just want to summarize what the lady and the gentleman have just said. So the mind is that part of a human being, or that part of you that is responsible for thinking, for feeling, for making sense of the world, for being aware of you as a person and your surroundings. Okay, in other words, we could say it is just the manifestation of thoughts, as we have heard others say. I usually want to describe the mind as the software that the brain uses to execute whatever work that the brain does in order for you to be able to function as a human being. We all have phones, we have iPhones, we have Samsung phones, and we know that a phone is made up of two major elements: the hardware, which is the handset that we have in our hand, as well as the software that helps that gadget to operate. So for me, to try and explain the mind and the brain, we may use these interchangeably, but just so that we have a clear understanding of how they are different. So the brain is the hardware. The mind is the software. We understand that, right? Okay, so we are saying that the mind is the software that helps your brain to run your life and to carry out whatever function that the brain does carry out. So how does this entity called the mind work? As we all know, the brain is tangible, right? You can actually see your brain. If we take you to the medical doctors, let's say you have a challenge with your health and they put you under the scan, we can actually see a picture of your brain, and we've actually all seen the picture of a brain, but has anybody seen the mind? No, we cannot see it, but we know that the mind is there. When we see what you are doing or how you are running your life, That's when we can say, oh, this person has a mind, and we can actually tell what kind of mind you have from the way that you operate. So how does the mind work? Now, I've tried to summarize it in these images that we see. The mind, I call it an information processing entity. That's what the mind does. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed until you die, your mind is doing one thing and one thing only. It is processing information. And unfortunately, the mind is the kind of entity that believes negative things over positive things. It is called the negativity bias. What it means is, let's say after this presentation and then say, yeah, right, all of you, I want you to tell me what you have learned. Okay, and everyone's saying, oh, I learned this, I learned that, and things like that. And then one person says, coach, I think you wasted my time. I didn't even hear a thing. Do you know when I go home, I might actually fail to sleep because of that one comment. You know, I think I messed up. They didn't like it. Yeah, they now. It's like they didn't like it. I messed up. I didn't do anything. It's actually the negativity bias. They've done a lot of research in Europe and in the USA, and they actually did find out that the negativity bias is real. Now, the reason why we are like that is a story for another day, but we'll leave it there for now because we don't have much time. In other words, we're saying the mind is an information processing entity, and the mind uses thoughts. So thoughts is the information that your mind uses to process, okay? So the other factors about our minds is that the mind usually defaults to what is familiar. Right now, we were just being given a very powerful presentation on love. That was great. Thank you so much, Coach. We were being told about love, and afterwards he asked us how many of us are going to do things differently, and all of us are saying, yeah, we're going to do it, right? So we are like, we've been transformed. We now know about love. That is, love is not enough. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you go to bed, and when you wake up tomorrow morning, guess what happens? Back to your old way of doing things. You've already forgotten about what you've learned. So the mind has a tendency of defaulting to what is familiar. That's why people go to church day in and day out. Okay, we don't go to church day in and out, Sunday in, Sunday out, and others go to midweek services. But when you look at our lifestyle, sometimes it does not tally with the life we live and the sermons that we receive. Why? Because the mind will always default to what is familiar. So no matter how much learning you have had, if you do not develop effective mind management skills, you are always going to be running on some thoughts that are negative, okay? And also, you'll realize that the mind is also very much attracted to what is familiar. Let's say you are a very negative person, as we have seen that it's actually scientific. It's not just that you are weak. It's scientific. It only takes someone who knows how to manage their mind, who are going to get themselves out of that negativity bias. So let's say you are a very negative person, and then every time that you listen to someone speak, you can actually pick that this person is saying very good points, okay? And then let's say during their presentation, they say something that you are not in agreement with, or probably they say something that, you think is not true, okay? What then happens is, because you are such a negative person, your mind will quickly be attracted to that negative thing that this person has said. And when you go home and you spend the rest of the week or the rest of the month, all you are thinking about is the negative thing that person has said. And that's why sometimes even when you attend a party or a wedding, and then everything is going on so smoothly, you just have an eye for something that is wrong. You're like, no, there was a chair that was broken. Your mind will always be attracted to what is familiar. And then one of the most important things about the mind is that it believes the things that you tell it. Your mind will always listen to what you tell it. Now, according to research that was done, I think most of us know that an average human being thinks up to about 60,000 thoughts every day. And some say it's actually about 70,000 thoughts every single day. And out of those 70,000 thoughts, 80% of the thoughts are negative. Okay, so which means that every day that we are going through, 70% of that information, remember we said the mind is an information processing entity, and the mind is always processing the information that you feed it with. And if you are always going to be feeding it with the 80% of negativity, it only means that that is the reason why your life is very difficult. This is the reason why you are failing to achieve the goals that you set for yourself. So the mind believes the things that you tell it. In other words, we are saying it is very critical for us to be alert all the time and mind the things that we are telling ourselves and the information that we are feeding the mind with. Now, what we are saying, in other words, here is that the mind receives information from you. Remember, we say the mind is an information processing entity. The mind receives information from you. Let's go to the example where probably someone then says, Coach, you wasted my time. I didn't hear a thing. Actually, you were lying. So because remember we say that the mind has got 80%, the thoughts that the mind processes are 80% negative. I receive information, the information that I tell myself to say, I messed up today, I didn't do a good job. So that is the information through the thoughts that I've given to my mind. And then the mind processes that information. I've written there that in the corpus callosum. So inside your brain, there's a part called the corpus callosum. It's like a sausage-shaped part in the brain. And right at the end of, or rather in the front of the corpus callosum, there's a place called the free will. So what happens is every time that you think a thought, let's say, for example, I say, today I have messed up because people did not like my presentation. That is a thought that I am feeding my mind with. So the information rushes to the corpus callosum and it goes to the free will. In the free will, that's when that information is vetted according to the nature of mind that I have. If the mind realizes that that piece of information is in line with what I believe about myself, that thought is going to be accepted as true. So the moment I have accepted that thought to say, I did a very poor presentation, the moment I accept it, there's another part in our brain as well called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus, the purpose of the hypothalamus is to release chemicals, which means that every time that you think a thought, the hypothalamus releases a chemical. It's just how the brain works. The hypothalamus releases a chemical. Now, when that chemical is released, it goes together with that thought which you have accepted, and the two of them go and settle in the part of your brain called the cortex, and it kind of becomes your belief. I have said to myself, I received information, I have messed up my presentation. The corpus callosum says, oh yes, oh you're always messing up. It's processed, and then it is released into the part of my brain again, which is responsible for memory. And whatever then is stored in my memory is what I become. I am such a lousy speaker. I am a lousy presenter. And then when I do that, the brain again begins to create what we call neural pathways in line with the thought that I have processed. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for lack of a very good example, let's say you come to this place, you've never seen a lime, for example, or you've never seen grapes, right? All you know are bananas and oranges and lemons. So you come in here, we give you some grapes, and you say, oh, what is this? And we say, these are grapes. They're very tasty. They're the ones that are used to make wine. And you're like, oh, so these are grapes. So the moment you say, oh, so these are grapes, your brain creates what is called a neural pathway, which is like a pattern of anything new that you are used to, or anything new that you have heard for the first time. The brain creates a neural pathway. And then with time, let's say tomorrow you go to another event and you realize that there are grapes. That neural pathway lights up in the brain and you say, oh, here are grapes. And then next month you go to a wedding and you're saying, oh, they are grapes. And then that neural pathway in your brain becomes bigger. You don't need to say oh anymore. You just actually go to the shop and buy your grapes. Do you get the point there, ladies and gentlemen? So what happens with our thoughts is, if I say to myself, I am a lousy presenter, the information goes there, it is accepted in the corpus callosum, and then the hypothalamus releases a chemical. And then when that chemical is released, I forgot to mention this part, it then gives me the sensation which I call feelings. So after that, I go to my seat going like this, feeling very ashamed and feeling very foolish because of the chemical that has been released as a result of a thought that I have accepted, and that has also become my belief. So the brain begins to form a neural pathway that says, Jessie, you are a lousy presenter. Do you think next time if I'm given another opportunity, I'll accept? I don't. What will happen? You will find me along Blawayo Road selling airtime and water because of just the information that I received and accepted. In other words, we're saying if we do not have effective mind management skills, we are going to fail and we are going to quit our purposes and our passions because we have failed to manage the information. Okay, so now this is just the explanation of what I was talking about, that neural pathways are connections between neurons. As you know, I think we all did biology. Neurons are the brain cells, and each human being has got about 86 billion neurons in the brain. And well, it's a wide topic and a topic for another day. So we are saying when neural pathways are formed when you encounter a piece of information for the first time. For example, the grapes, and also the example that I gave. So the way your brain created a neural pathway can impact how you respond to that thing for the rest of your life. In the example of me messing up my presentation, every time I hear that there's a speaker that's needed, there's a presenter that's needed, I react fearfully because that neural pathway is already formed to say you are bad at that. And therefore, I make sure I keep as far as possible from anywhere where presentations and speeches are made. And as a result, I quit on my purpose. Okay, we can go to the next slide. One of my teachers by the name Dr. Michelle Stridham, she wrote a book called The Sanctification of the Heart. And in this book, she's actually a medical doctor and she's a scientist and she's a Christian. And in this book, she was actually explaining how diseases are formed in the human body. And the purpose of the book was just to let people know that you can actually be healed by your mind, because it is actually the mind that can get you sick. Let me just hammer on this point a little bit. Sometimes when you go to a friend or a relative and you say, I've been to the doctor and they said my blood pressure is very high, what is the first thing that they usually say to you? What are you thinking about? In other words, it is a fact that your thoughts can make you sick. In reverse order, if your thoughts can make you sick, it means your thoughts can heal you. So that's the purpose of that book, The Sanctification of the Heart. So one of your statements was that people are literally dying because they don't know how to use their brains properly. They don't know that they are destroying their intellectual, emotional, and physical health with their toxic thoughts. Remember, we said 80% of our thoughts are negative, and 95% of those 70,000 thoughts are repetitive, which means that the things that you're thinking right now, you've been thinking about it since last year or since 2020, they are repetitive, and they are repetitive, and they are negative, and they are neural pathways. Are you going to be a normal human being at the end of the day? It is going to be very difficult. Yes, let's go to the next slide. Now, we are just here again trying to explain further how the mind works. So we are saying here that when a thought enters your mind, it is accepted by the free will. It generates emotions. In other words, we are saying everything that you feel, whether it's a happy feeling or it's a sad feeling, There is no feeling that just falls from the clouds. Every feeling is a result of thought, because a thought that you think generates a chemical reaction which you feel in your body as an emotion. And now a combination of thoughts and emotions form your neural pathway about that particular issue or that particular subject. And when you have formed neural pathways, you then begin to have beliefs about that particular incident. For example, I begin to believe that I am very bad with public speaking. How many of us have said, I'm very bad with math? Or I'm very bad with compositions. I don't like compositions. We have said those things. It's because we have already formed neural pathways, because we didn't have a very good experience, maybe our first time experience with math or with compositions. And then we create a belief around that thing. So if you say I'm good at math, every time someone says, what is 5 plus 4? You're like, I'm bad with math. Already it affects your actions. So probably you were in an event or in a class where somebody who got the answer right will probably get a bursary or win a lottery or something like that. So your actions are like you don't even want to attempt. You put your hands down. And when you put your hands down, what happens? Those are your actions. It means that someone else maybe raises their hand, they get the answer right, and then you start feeling bad. Now I've missed out. So your beliefs will cause you to do your actions. Whilst I'm on beliefs, let me explain a little bit about beliefs. Beliefs are like apps that are on our phones, or applications that are on our phones. Let's say, for example, there was no *151#. There was just an EcoCash app. So it's either you have an app on your phone or you don't have. So let's say you then want to make a payment to ICMF, and then you want to use EcoCash, but you don't have that app. Can you make that EcoCash payment? No, you can't. You will wish and wish and wish, but you're not going to have that app. So beliefs are applications in our brain. If you don't have a belief about something, forget about ever having that something in your life. Let me give another example. In fact, there's a statement that I love to use, which says that in life, you are never going to have what you wish for. In life, you're always going to have what you believe. So if you are, for example, seeking for success in your life, you're working hard, burning the midnight candle, doing everything you can, you want to do this course and finish, and then you want to register your practice, and then you practice as a coach. And let's say, for example, somewhere in your life, you created neural pathways that says, success, kumsha kwedu, no one succeeded. So inini, I'm not even part of the success equation. But that is, unfortunately, that is happening in your subconscious mind. It's not like when you are walking, you are hearing yourself saying, so your belief is that I am not worthy of success. And then you do everything that everyone else is doing. At the end of the day, you have passed with a distinction, you've graduated, you've registered your practice, but guess what? No customer comes to you. It's not because you were bewitched by your village, which is there. It's just because in life we don't have what we want or wish for. We have what we believe. So when you go through life and you realize that there are things you desire to have, but those things never come to your life. Chingoziwa kuti you want to do an EcoCash transaction, but you don't have an EcoCash app. You want to be successful, but there is no success up in your beliefs. So it just means you need to go back to your thoughts and begin to create new neural pathways about success and create new beliefs. That's when your actions, because your beliefs are the ones that drive your actions in most cases. And your actions create your experiences, and your experiences create your reality. Let's see what we have. Right, so just summarizing what I have been saying. We are saying that everything that is happening in your life right now, if we had time, we were going to ask from here to there to say, okay, Chimbotu, what is really happening in your life? Are you as successful as you wish to be? Are you as happy as you wish to be? Are you in love as you desire to be? If we had time, would ask, and the answer I would give you is that everything that is happening in your life right now is a direct output of your thinking patterns. Your thoughts created you. What you've been thinking ever since the time you started thinking is what made you to be the entity that you are. The kind of information that you are processing. In fact, let me add another part of the brain again. Biology. Inside your brain again, there's a part called the reticular activation system. We call it the RAS. The part of the RAS is to screen information. Now, science says that the human brain can process about 11 million bits of information per second. But your conscious mind is only aware of 40. Did you get that? 11 million pieces of information, but you're only aware of only 40. Now that 40, the 40 pieces of information that you are aware of are a result of this part of the brain called the RAS. So what the RAS does is that it sifts through the 11 million pieces of information, and it searches for everything and anything that matches what you are always thinking about. It goes through life. You get into the combi, your RAS begins to search for anything and everything that matches your beliefs and your neural pathways. So if you are someone who's always negative, or maybe most of us when we grew up, we were told that life is tough, isn't it? Money is hard to come by. We heard that so many times that we actually believe it, that money is hard to come by. But lo and behold, guess what we do? We don't sleep. We are always hustling and look for money. At the end of the day, we have nothing. What has happened? Because life does not give us what we wish for. Life gives us what we believe. Meaning that because your RAS is active, it is always looking for information and evidence to the fact that life is tough and money is hard to come by. So whether you open a newspaper or whether you open some, people always send those clips and stuff like that. Even if something is telling you that if you press 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, you will get $50,000, your RAS will not even see it. In fact, it ignores it. In fact, I forgot to mention about where I was saying that in the corpus callosum, when a thought is accepted, it changes into an energy and it comes together with a chemical reaction and then it settles in your cortex. When you reject a thought, it actually blows up into hot air and it just comes out either through your hair follicles and it leaves you and it's gonna. So when you are someone with belief that money is hard to come by, life is difficult, you come face to face with someone who can actually change your life for good. And guess what the RAS does? You hear that information, you're told what to do, it goes into the corpus callosum, boom, air, hot air. And then you realize what's going on. Am I bewitched? Oh my God, you go to the mountain, you go to pray, and you do all sorts of things, still no results. Why? Because everything that is happening in your life is a direct and the output of your thinking pattern. So ladies and gentlemen, if there's anything that is not right about our lives, stop looking anywhere else. Look where? In your mind. Now your life is a direct expression of your thoughts. This is just what we're saying. And we're saying it is critical that you realize that your life will not be sorted until your mind is sorted. I don't care who you know. Do you know that there are people who are some... Okay, let me give this example. We have people even in our nation whom we call Mbinga, right? And rich aunties, right? And some of them, people will say, "Hi, wow, they do what? They steal." Or they what? Bakano romba, isn't it? We find those excuses to justify our own failure, to make what? Money. But let me tell you this truth. Do you know what? Even if that rich aunt akaenda kuno romba, there are many, many thousands others who went to romba more than her, that they have nothing. Trust me, your kuromba will not give you results if you don't have the neural pathway for success. You will romba and kill every member in your family and you've got nothing at the end of the day. Even if those who say, whom you think they steal the money, There are men who stole the money and they are in jail right now. Because of what? Their beliefs don't support them having the money. So it's either the moment it's, you see people like Kumabasa Kwatunushanda, you see someone stealing all the time and they're always stealing and they're getting away with it. The day you also decide, let me just, that's when the police comes. It's all to do with your mind. It's all to do with the energy that is emitted by the thoughts that you're thinking every day. So, James Allen, I think most of us know him. He's a very profound author. He says, you are today where your thoughts have brought you. And you will be tomorrow where your thoughts will take you. This is where the good news is. Okay, we may be broken now, we may be broke, we may be failures, we may have done this and that and it never works. The joy of it is you can start today to create new neural pathways and create new beliefs. Because remember, we said in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you believe. Right. So this is my philosophy. GMC is always asking us sometimes to say, what is your philosophy? This is my philosophy. You can get it right in life if you get your thinking right. Let me tell you something. For those of us like me who are believers, you go to a conference, a mighty man or mighty woman of God comes and they preach and they preach. Yeah, that's heaven. Some fall, some whatever. You go home, you have received the 365 days and nothing has happened to you. You've been to the mountains for 3 times, for 40 days, each time you have nothing. Let me tell you something. Even God and the devil, they both work through your mind. If your mind is not in the state of receiving, it doesn't matter how much you have prayed. As long as you don't have beliefs for breakthroughs, you can forget about it. The devil also takes advantage of your neural pathways. If you have neural pathways for fear, for anger, for jealous, for corruption, he comes like, I don't know what to say. And he takes over your life and you find yourself. How many people have you known who says, I don't even know what happened. And someone, they are so right. Don't even blame them. They are right. Because all these things are actually happening in the subconscious mind. We are not even aware of it. But what makes you know that this is the kind of mind I have, these are the kind of neural pathways I have, is the outcome. So you just look at the outcome. That is what will tell you what kind of mindset that you have. Now let's go to the matter of the night. How do you manage the mind? We've been talking about the negatives from when we started. But now we want to know, okay, coach, tell us, okay, Tajinzwa, we've had it. This is really. What then can we do? Now, I came up with these 3 stages or steps to managing your mind. Remember, we're talking about